What about you in your career? Like you said, you're coming up on like 20 years. So how are you feeling physically, and how much longer do you think you'll be in the ring?
Oh man, physically I feel good. It's just right now I feel like I'm in a bit of a transition period for my life in general, right? I like to think I can stay wrestling in the ring for another decade if I wanted to. I mean, maybe not at the type of schedule that I've done, but I mean, I feel good physically, and I feel like I'm at a position where I can still physically get better and grow, right? I've had, like a lot of us have had, battled injuries. We're always battling injuries, trying to stay healthy. The longer we get in this career, the more maintenance we have to do to stay on top of it. But I feel like, part of this year in 2019 is I had some opportunities to sign on some places, take some opportunities that would have kind of locked me in at a more full-time schedule like I've been doing. But I just made a choice for this year. I'm going to do something different. And, I'm going to reduce the wrestling schedule a little bit physically. I've got some other things that I'm working on outside of the ring that I want to give some time and focus to as I kind of transition to be more than just a body that goes and takes the bumps and does the physical aspect. I've got a lot else I'd like to offer the industry and wrestling and beyond. So, but you have to transition into that. So I think right now I feel good. But I'm really going to be picking my spots carefully of where you're going to see me physically out there performing, and focus on some other things for this year. But I think, I still think I've got one good long run left in me somewhere. Whether it's that's somewhere to be determined, somewhere that's currently out there. We'll see. But I'm excited for the next couple of years. Wrestling right now is in a really crazy, cool landscape. There's a lot of really positive things happening. And, I want to be a part of that in my way, where I fit in for the type of person I am.
Yeah, one of the things that's happening is AEW. It's kind of captured the imagination of all the wrestling fans. What do you make of all of this AEW stuff?
I mean, hey, again, it's a great thing to have another company to be able to step up from a financial standpoint that's giving men and women a viable place to go make a career and build a platform and make a name. So that's huge for the industry, right? Because that really, by and large, was created because of where the landscape is, not the other way around, right? Like AEW came about because right now the pro wrestling landscape can support and sustain something like this. There's been a bit of a resurgence, and a lot of it's based on the fact, you guys look at the guys like the Young Bucks and Cody, and what they've done with their own social media, And so, when I broke in 2000, this was really before the social media boom. And I was the talent, and I went to promotions, and promoters would help promote me and their shows, and I'd go to their shows, and by being associated with their shows, it would help promote me and who and what I did. And what's changed since the social media phenomenon is now guys like myself, and as you see with the Bucks and Cody and a number of guys, is we can all promote ourselves. So not only are we the talent, but in some ways we're the promoter, because now promoters book us because of our following, because how we can help promote their shows. Well, now when you figure that, well, if I'm the talent and the promoter, well, they said, well, then why would I want to go? Why not just be the whole thing? I can get a building. I can get a ring and put chairs in there. So it's given an opportunity for talent to be able to make sure that if they're not going to be driving their own bus, that the bus that they're sitting in is beneficial to their career. And if not, it's really easy to say, hey, I'd like to get off the bus here. And there's other smaller buses, or people can just actually be their own Uber bus driver, and they can drive their own bus wherever they want and make a good career doing it. And for me, like, that's a beautiful thing, because for a lot of times, I've said this, for a lot of guys and girls over their career, they just sign the contract that they have to sign. And it's always at the number and a structure that's beneficial and one-sided for the promotion. It's how it's always been, because there hasn't been any opportunity or options to do it any other way. When you give an old school what's been historically a wrestling contract to any type of entertainment lawyer, they laugh at it. Who the hell would sign this? And they say, well, we all do, because that's what we got. And what you see now is that there's an opportunity to change that. And I think, regardless of what company it is, or what their own personal, agendas are, I think what I'm seeing is the people in positions that are starting to be movers and shakers all agree that we can move this forward from a standpoint of how we treat the talent and we treat the guys and the girls who really drive the bus, which is the people putting on the show. And we deserve and we will be treated better in the future. And that's a great thing.
Yeah, and I think the interesting part for the fans is to kind of speculate about just in what kind of a direction they're heading. Like if they're going to be the next ECW to kind of, rise up from the grassroots and kind of, challenge the big dog of WWE, or if they're just kind of drift in like TNA or kind of Ring of Honor's just kind of had a kind of, well, Ring of Honor's always kind of had a steady slide, and TNA's been up and down and all over the place, but it will definitely be interesting to see where they go.
Yeah, I think fans need to also realize is that what might happen is option C, which is which is something new, because I don't think that and this is just, I don't know anything, I haven't had any discussions, but just from the outside looking in, I think that this business model of what they look like they're trying to do is going to be unconventional to what we typically think of how a wrestling company would operate, because the landscape's changed, man.
Right. Netflix and everything like that, and the way people watch wrestling is completely different than it was in the 90s.
What other companies said, hey, we're just going to run these big events a few times a year and put 10, 15,000 people in without TV before we worry about TV? Right, it's usually the other way around. We gotta get this, we get TV, then maybe we can get 10,000 people. Like this is a different. I think people should sit back and watch. That's what I've been doing. I'm gonna sit back and watch this, because this is a changing in the way I think the wrestling industry can be done, and we're gonna see how the model runs, and it's successful. And the fun part for the fans is the ones that are real diehard wrestling fans is they get to go on their message boards and on their their websites and their chat forums, and they get to speculate all these cool things. And that's the fun part. Listen, I'm a huge sports guy. I grew up a huge sports fan, so I do the same thing with sports. It's fun for me to know, to talk with my other friends that are into sports about the general managing aspect and the behind the scenes aspect of sports. So I get it, the entertainment value, regardless of however you're getting entertainment value out of it. More viable, successful professional wrestling promotions, the better.
Now, as we kind of wind down here, I wonder, when you look at your career, we talked about how you've been in TNA, Ring of Honor, WWE. What's left for you to accomplish? Like, is there anything left on your bucket list that you would like to do in your career? And is there anybody that you haven't had a chance to work with yet that you're kind of looking forward to?
Well, as far as the working with part, I've said this before, and I'll say it again because it's still a viable possibility. But whether it's across the ring as an opponent or in the corner as a partner, Chris Jericho is someone I have an immense amount of respect for what he's done in his career. One of the guys that as I was breaking in was one of those guys that was ushering in a style that appealed to someone like me that I could, that I wanted to follow and say that's a guy I want to be like if I'm going to be in this business. So, and the fact he's still doing it at a high level, and the fact I think what I respect most about Chris is, man, he calls his own shots and he's done it his own way, and I respect that out of him. So that opportunity would be great, because there's not a lot of guys left that when I broke in were kind of guys I looked up to that are still active, and Eddie Guerrero was always one of those guys that I was always on my list, and I unfortunately never had the chance, but Chris is still out there, so that's the guy that's always in the top, and Cody, I'll throw Cody's name out there too, for a lot of the same reasons, as far as respecting what he's done, kind of going his own direction and carving it out. So, as far as things that I've done in my career, man, I've some years back, even before I went to WWE, I was really content with what I'd done, and I know that's hard for some people to accept or understand. I'm like the Ricky Williams of wrestling, man. Like I'm a weird, unique cat, and I see things a little differently. So like what my agendas are and what I try to get out of things are maybe a little different than people would, from the outside looking in would think, and so there's still some things that I want to do, as far as wrestling wise, I've wrestled pretty much everywhere there is other than New Japan, and hey, they may need some new Gaijin talent, possibly it looks like they're in a position to where they could use some infusion. So, that could be an interesting scenario if that were to come about. Otherwise I'm just looking at some stuff maybe outside the ring and how I can be an asset out there and continue to help the industry grow and thrive at a time where it's really exciting. There's a lot of opportunity.